Hi, I'm Dean Sage.
And I'm Jack Curvin.
And this is Show Me Your Deck,
a podcast where we explore the intersections of oracles and chakras,
using our original decks to create new insights. Episode 51.
Area 51.
Ooh. Are we going to go into deep guarded secrets and conspiracy theories?
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
Probably not, but it'd be cool if we did.
I am home alone. Usually my spouse is here when I'm recording, so all the children are flocking to me. So I hear Katya upstairs mowing about how alone and unloved she is,
forlorn and forgotten.
So if she shows up, she hates. We've talked about this. She hates the tuxedo cat. Mm-hmm. She's a palomino, so she's white with black splotches. And then the tuxedo is black with white splotches. And the tuxedo cat is sleeping in one of the beds. I have two beds on my desk because my spouse also has two beds on their desk. Mm-hmm. And usually the two of them actually sleep next to each other in the beds. No problem. Like the beds are neutral.
Black and whites?
Yeah, the two black and whites can share the desk, can share the beds. So I'm hoping that that's what happens here. And then I've got the orange cats in the window. By the bed, so
many spicy babies.
I might have kitten magic today. I haven't seen the fluffy. The fluffy has not made an appearance yet, but probably will.
Well, kitten magic is always welcome.
Always welcome, kitten magic. Let us roll. Let us
begin with the tetrahedron of doom, shall we? Number 4. That is the perceptions of joy. So those are the haiku.
The haiku.
Yep. And that hadn't come up for a while, has it?
No.
I was like, which one's deck 4? We haven't had that in a while. Okay, and it'll be card number 24.
I'm gonna get you a rolling bin. We use them in Dungeons and Dragons so that the dice doesn't go all over your table.
Well, this is right in the middle of everything, so it's going to be part of Anahata, green, wood, of, and how it is intersected by blue, water, third eye, Ajna, I see. So how we connect with people is influenced by the way we perceive the world and the information that we know. Eden's tree imbibes insight, roots grasp truth's vision, slaking heartened thirst. Eden's tree imbibes insight, roots grasp truth's vision, slaking heartened thirst.
Okay. I'm struck by the word Eden. That one stuck out to me. I love the slaking. I love that word. That's just a great word.
I know, it's fun, right?
This is an awesome word, slake.
It's fun to even say, to slake one's thirst.
Well, and I usually only hear it in sumptuous, sensuous contexts. Mm-hmm. So, like, slaking thirst there's a very sexual overtone to that for me, just because of who has used that.
Yeah, sure. This is the idea that when you work together with other people and share information, share knowledge, the capacity for really giving forth lots of new water and soaking that up through roots and connecting with people. This is about collaboration. The image for the haiku is capillarity, and that is the process of roots bringing water from the soil up into the plant. So the idea that it is the water, the knowledge, the information is actually being soaked up and it becomes nourishing and becomes a source for energy and power and growth. And with the roots being involved, there's that interconnection of, lives and relationships, but the way in which working together and growing together and being together makes you a better person.
Mm. I just was imagining, trees drink with their feet. I think that's really
with their toes.
Interesting. Their toes, yeah. Their long little toes. And then I'm just imagining like some of those trees that form like the root systems and like they're all connected. We've talked about that before with trees. I find that very fascinating. The vines for wine, right? Like the continuous vine that shares the same.
Well, the one from North Carolina here.
What's it called?
The one from North Carolina is the one that saved all the wine grapes in the whole world because they could graft the, I think it was a Scuppernong from here in North Carolina. It's like a 400-year-old vine. It's still alive, I think. And when the wine blight was destroying the wine industry in Europe, they grafted some of this North Carolina vine onto the European vines and saved everything from the flux that was destroying all the wine. So, it's a metaphor for, I suppose, taking your abilities and your knowledge and sharing it and salvaging and improving everyone else.
Well, I like that you're imbibing. So like the third eye, I think a lot of times is very external, right? Like it's an eye, so it sees. And so I think we focus on, stuff going out of the body or, things happening outside the body. But the act of kind of drinking up the water, that's a very internal process. Like that's something happening within the plant, and you get the sturdiness of the tree, but within it is still moist, wet timber.
Yeah, is it the phloem that's still soft inside of a tree? I can't remember. There's the two types of tissue in there, and I don't remember what they are. Xylem and phloem, but I don't remember which one is soft. But the one hardens on the outside and protects the core.
Yeah.
There's something about this particular card is important to me personally. I'm not necessarily going to explain now. We can talk about that in the part that people pay for. Give us $1. The card. So when I was in college and graduate school as a choreographer and baby dancer, collaboration was everything, because when I was in undergrad, we only had, we would have anywhere from 7 to 14 dance majors at a time. It was a very small department, and we knew each other very, very well. And we all had to perform in each other's dances because there weren't enough people to go around. So we all just shared dancers. And you would almost fear that everybody's dances would end up looking the same, but it didn't, because we knew each other well enough to give feedback and help each other remain distinct as individuals, as choreographers, even when we blended into somebody else's choreography to be whatever they needed us to be. And then in graduate school, there were only 3 people in my year: me, Kristen, and Shamala. The year before us had 5 or 7 MFAs, and the year after us had 12. We only had 3. And it was really a magnificent situation, because I saw the way the year before me and after me had to split up resources. And we got so much. I can't believe how lucky I was to only have 3 people, but we were intensely tied to each other. And while we were developing our MFA theses, we got to know each other's work intimately. It was extraordinary. And now to this day, when people ask me who my favorite choreographers are, I still say Kristen and Shamala, because I knew them so well, and I got so many ideas from them and shared so much with them, and our conversations were just unending. And I'd be willing to bet that even 20 years later, wow, I finished 20 years ago, 23 years ago. Oh, shit. But anyway, if we picked up this conversation 23 years later, I don't think it would be like any time had passed. And that's the joy of collaboration, the way that you create connections with people and share ideas with them. It can nourish you in ways that you can't imagine, because it hasn't happened yet.
Well, you talked about the third eye and truth and what we know, and I just have this image of truth in the blood, right? I mean, that's how water and our biology interact. There's a water base to blood, and there's water in the organs, and I mean, obviously there's a lot of water everywhere. But I just love this idea of knowledge in the blood. That's like a fascinating image. I don't know if that's moving too far away from the haiku, but that's kind of, I don't think it is. As you were talking, that's Like, so you're slaking up this, this water, this, into your roots. But once it's inside you, like, you convert it into what you need to live. And, for us, that's blood.
Yeah. And the plants turn it into sugar, and they turn it into sap. They turn it into all sorts of stuff. But their water doesn't flow like ours, but it's certainly all over the place. I can look at my basil plant and know when it's been 3 hours too long without water.
Mm-hmm.
Little delicate baby, my little green baby.
So I'm curious. Like, I think that's a good context. Like, water or knowledge in the blood. Like, it doesn't just exist in your third eye. Like, it's we talk about gut feelings. Like, there's root knowledge. There's core understandings. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. It's in your every motion. It's in your resting.
Flowing.
Yeah.
And moving the whole time. It's not static.
No. But it is, I think, deep and connected, and it has to do with our interconnections with others. It's sort of, like, people talk about common sense. I think it's a little bit like that. Like, we just all kind of know each other, and we all know how, like, in a crisis situation, people know what to do. They know how to help. They know what it is to be hungry, to be thirsty, to be injured. They know. They just know, and they know how to act. They know how to interact.
Well, and the knowledge, like water, needs to flow. Look at what happens to water when it doesn't flow. It becomes stagnant. Mm-hmm. And if the blood settles in the body somewhere, then that's septic. The knowledge has to flow. The information needs to keep moving to be fresh. So going forward, looking at the upcoming cards in the reading, I suppose one of the reminders is to consider the ways in which your decisions and your processes can be improved by collaboration, not having to do something by yourself. And
relying upon what is true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can collaborate, but you also know what's true. So you know how to take that collaboration and use it and be part of it, but share what is true in the midst of it. So I think I'm going to pull one of mine.
Okay.
Let's see. I feel a lot of activity today. I think we're going to be vociferous. Oh, we have the 9 of Storms. This is the 9 of Swords in the tarot deck. The sharp touch of icy wind clarifies everything. The sharp touch of icy wind clarifies everything.
It's bracing.
Yeah, it's we've had this before come up, and
is this the card with 9 swords in someone's back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Oftentimes, some deck creators will take it on a different bent, but the traditional Rider-Waite interpretation is usually 9 swords somewhere around a body, and then the 10 of swords, same thing. They're both not good portents. But here I have, that processing the pain you have endured, that coming to terms with the suffering and grief you have experienced can help you sharpen your focus on here, on now. You do not relish pain and suffering as though they are themselves the goal. To feel joy is to know grief, and to have peace is to hold pain. You feel the sharp, icy wind sting your cheeks, and your world is instantly in focus. Your attention here and now. You know that worrying for future grief, for future pain, will only bring you to these places again. You hold your grief, your pain, your anxiety, and then let it slip away into the wind. When there are heights, there is cold. Where there are storms, there will be pain.
And you don't have to weather it alone.
No.
This is when you reach out to your people, or go find new people who will understand. Because the people you have now may not be the ones who can help you, but maybe other people can. So keeping the water flowing, finding the community of people who can help you contend with whatever this adversity is.
Well, you've got grief, joy, and peace, right? This is the heart chakra for me, so it's good that this came up because we have the heart chakra for you, heart chakra for me.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely, like, when you are experiencing grief, when you are experiencing loss or hollowness, resting on what you know to be true and resting on connection is very important to that process. And you have to remind yourself what you know to be true, what you know to be reality, what you know is in your blood. And that's, where you overcome that grief.
I am in contact with somebody who was part of the Men's Sacred Liberation retreats that we used to do. And he is a gay man who has not been out. His culture did not allow it. And he accidentally, and I totally get it, he accidentally fell in love with a straight friend.
Mm.
And unless you are someone LGBT who has fallen in love with someone who's straight, that's a very specific kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reaction from the straight person when they realize it tends to not be great. And they will not have seen the ways in which their words and actions might have been encouraging something that they didn't understand. But he was trying to talk to other straight people about this, and he wasn't getting anywhere. So he finally got my number and reached out to me, and we went on some walks, and we've had some talks. And this is an example where you need new people and new knowledge and new insight to help you heal. The people who he could share this with who are straight, they didn't know how to help.
No, because it's just not a thing that what they desire is accessible to them.
Yeah. It's a very particular type of disappointment and pain when the person simply cannot conceive of even touching you. You need to talk to other LGBT people about it. And that's what he's doing. He's reaching out, and he's I've been helping him find some other people to talk to and walk with. And he's very wise to not try to do it by himself. And I have experienced this so many times that I don't mind being patient while he says all the stuff I know he's going to say. Mm-hmm. And I let him express all the stuff that I know he's going to feel. But that's why I'm present, is because I know very well what will help him. And so there's an example of somebody having all these swords stuck in them, but then going out and making sure that his water keeps flowing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the grief, that's a specific kind of grief because you didn't have it, but you still lost it. It's the grief of what could have been.
Except it never could have been because they're straight.
I still think there's, the space, like in my view, there's a space of what is missing. Mm-hmm. It's not that it was possible, it's that it was potential. Mm-hmm. It's something that there is space for it, even if it was never going to happen or could never happen. There's still a grief. There's still a space where it's missing.
Right, and that's where the conceivable lives. That's where the fantastical lives, but it doesn't necessarily trip over into full potential.
Correct.
The illusion of potential is still potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's a very real grief. I mean, this happens with childhood trauma. The ideal parent that you'll never have and didn't have and never will have, there's a grief for that pervades your interaction with your parents, both now and when they're gone. There's a grief for something that couldn't have existed but still has space in your heart.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison. Next week will mark 6 months since my dad passed away, and it's been an interesting process because I didn't feel very close to him for the last few decades because after I graduated high school, I went away and didn't really ever go back. But he really didn't do anything to maintain the connection with me until he got sick. And then I felt like for the last several years, he was trying to make all these amends and everything. And for whatever reason, I wasn't close to it. I performed a little bit, but I didn't really allow it. I didn't really want it. And I was concerned that, okay, you're taking too long to open up to this man and he's going to be gone and you're going to regret it. And it's like, and he's gone. Is like, I don't really regret it. I'm not glad that he's gone. I'm certainly not glad that's not what I mean. But the first, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 weeks, they were kind of hard. There's some hard times there, but now I go already days and weeks without even realizing that he's gone. Like I think about him with some frequency, but it doesn't like stab me with pain the way it does my sister.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's many thoughts on forgiveness, and I don't agree that it's just something that you should give freely, and that you have a expectation or requirement to give it. And I know that like Buddhism, I'm thinking especially, would say that that's bad for you to withhold forgiveness, that it's for you, it's not for them. But that's not entirely true, because they're seeking something, you give it to them and it alleviates them. But what does it do for you?
It's an interesting word when you talk about forgive. It's like, well, maybe it should be forloan or for negotiate. But even in French, it's pardonner. That's where we get the word pardon. And it includes the word donner, which means to give. But donner is also the idea of a gift. Like when you say that you are doué or donné, it means that you're gifted or talented at something. And even in, I'm pretty sure it's probably similar in Spanish, actually. But in these languages, there's the idea that it's a gift that you are giving someone else instead of yourself. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it definitely, at least in Western culture, right? So European and of course for us American, it is relief that you're bestowing on someone, and we do have this understanding that it's some sort of obligation that you have. Like if someone asks for forgiveness, you have to give it to them. I think that comes from Judeo-Christian beliefs.
That's Catholic.
Yeah. So. Like if it's asked for, you have to give it, and you have like it's an obligation for you. So,
well, because they're trying to express contrition, and you have to be able to allow them to, unburden their souls. And for them, it had also stuff to do with heaven and hell.
Yeah. But I go to like 12 steps, right? Where one of the steps is make amends, but it's pretty clear that sometimes you offer to make amends and you are rejected, and you have to move past that. And I think that's something that, we understand in small pieces. Like it's okay, I guess, culturally for us to reject someone who was an alcoholic trying to make amends with someone that they hurt or abused. But then, at other times, the am I the asshole stories that come on my feed, like I cut off my family because they were being unbearable, or they were trying to subject me to things that are bad for me, like those kind of things. And there's this sort of general sense of like, well, you have to forgive your parents, you have to, it's just it's required. And I get where you're coming from, because it's like you can understand your parents, right? You can accept that they're attempting to amend or be contrite, or seek forgiveness, but that's that's for you, right? And I think doing it from an empty place, you're still doing it from grief, You're not doing it from love
or release.
And it's not filling you with anything. You're giving of your energy. And then there's expectations upon you. Oh, well, you forgave them. So now you need to let it go.
Yeah, all that's quite complicated. And I don't think it's generally as clear cut as that.
And then the expectation that you have suddenly a good relationship. Well, forgiveness has been given. So now everything resets. Mm-hmm. Like, no, the context still exists.
A lot of this sounds like confession. What you're describing, now that we're thinking about it in these terms, it really does sound like the sacrament of confession. And I'm not the church. I ain't got to forgive you. I don't have this pact with you. And here's the thing. Forgive and forget has never really worked for me. I am a Cancer, and that doesn't work for us. We can forgive, but we don't forget.
Well, forgive and forget leads to very toxic relationships because
the same cycle is going over and over.
Someone gets drunk, someone hits you, someone gets sober, apologizes, and then goes and gets drunk again. Mm-hmm. And like I have the saying, sorry people change. So I don't like sorries. I like changes. Mm-hmm. If you're sorry, you do it differently.
Yeah, if you're really contrite. And ultimately, that's what confession is supposed to do. You're supposed to acknowledge that what you've done is wrong and then not do it again. Go forth and sin no more. But, human nature, it's imperfect. Mm-hmm. There's the ideal of what confession and forgiveness is supposed to be, but then there's, our lived experiences.
Well, I think this is interesting, right? The second card here has opened us to some interesting questions. I'm thinking about the context, knowing in your blood, true in your blood, community. I think, this concept of forgiveness of grief for what could be there, what you imagined or felt, could have been there. It's very tangible, kind of real. I'm not quite sure where we're headed, and we have a kind of a still very amorphous idea here going on. But I think we had the heart chakra come up twice, so we're definitely dealing with love
and relationships,
connections. Yeah, mm-hmm. we're definitely dealing with finding peace, experiencing joy, experiencing grief. We're just on the downside of it, right? We're talking about the grief side of it, but there's a flip to this, which would be where's the joy and where's the peace that kind of comes from it. And I think to cap off the forgiveness before you roll your next dice, sometimes there is peace and forgiveness, and I think that's what like Buddhism and the other religions are sort of talking about, is that sometimes holding on to anger, I think, is more thing. Like if you're angry about it, it's still active for you, mm-hmm. right? And so releasing your anger is helpful to you, right? You releasing your anger, you stop holding on to it, and you release it.
But releasing anger isn't the same as flushing all the water away and forgetting what you learned from it or what you know mm-hmm. about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a difference between releasing your anger, not letting that person or that situation have power over you, is not necessarily forgiving that person, is not wiping away their sin or their responsibility for it. But it's saying, no more will I let you affect me by what you've done. So I don't know if that's forgiveness. I think that is just saying, I'm releasing this situation from me. I will no longer give my energy to this situation.
And even if that's not forgiveness, it's still well adjusted. Mm-hmm.
So. And you can forgive, right? Especially if it's someone you have a good, close relationship with and they fuck up. Like, you can forgive and not forget, but you can move on. You can grow from there. And that's, a good example is, the roots get twisted on something, or like a ivy, like a vine. Maybe you're you're strangling the other person and you need to go back to learning a homeostasis.
Sure, but that's still coming back to the first card with the water involved. If water is sight, if water is third eye, then, this is still understanding and truth. So if you're going to do all that, it needs to be from a position of better understanding of how the situation happened in the first place.
I mean, going back to the get drunk, hit someone, realize that you fucked up. If you can change, right? If you can, and if it's meetings or whatever it is that works for you, if you can change and not go get drunk and act out, then that person can choose to forgive your action and can choose to accept you into their lives and continue forward in a relationship of whatever kind, right? It doesn't have to be always domestic. It could be friendship. It could be something else. But yeah, you can be forgiven, but I don't think you have a right to it or an expectation of it from others.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Tetrahedron of Doom, where are we going? We're going to deck number 3. The bouquet.
The bouquet.
All right. Number 8. So that's going to be the opening of the metal series, the emotion series. So this will be metal on metal. I feel on I feel. Svadhisthana. So this is the opening of the metal cycle. This is sensation. This is sensuality. This is instinct. This is feelings. Anything that you would say I feel about, that's where we're starting right here. The most fundamental manifestation of I feel. And I feel a lot because it is intersecting itself. So instinct on sensuality, instinct on instinct, feelings on feelings, emotion, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, it's all concentrating right here on itself. So I'm thinking that what this is saying, what this is screaming, is to trust your gut.
I noticed the blue on the card when you held it up. It's a remnant of the way that we made the cards. The mandalas have color in them, and then we sort of saturated them and desaturated them and saturated them with the color of the gradient. And in this case, it's just orange to orange, so it's just a solid color. So there was some.
Yeah, it's orange to white.
Oh, it's orange to white. Sorry. Oh, okay. I noticed that now. I see that.
So
now.
It has a gradient. Otherwise, it's just a solid color.
But there's this nice little blue that pops out because of the interaction of the gradient with the desaturation, et cetera, et cetera. And blue, of course, speaks to the higher chakras, but also water. And in my deck, the second chakra is water, which is the more traditional element for the second chakra. So it's just interesting. We still kind of have water going on here, even though we've got metal. Is this metal hot or cold to you when it intersects itself? Cold. That's kind of what I was feeling too.
Almost this is like when a bell rings. It's like it's just metal. It's just straight up metal. There's no ore involved. It's not got any earth in it. It doesn't have any heat applied to it. It's not necessarily rusting in water or anything. It's not being zapped by electricity. This is just metal. So this is a chime of some kind. I don't know if it's a warning bell or a congratulatory gong or what, but this is all about what you feel in your guts.
I saw someone doing handbells, which I haven't seen in a long time. I don't know where they came from, but they were young. So I'm like, maybe it's college. And they were doing a song from K-pop Demon Hunters on handbells, which is not easy. Like doing handbell arrangements is not an easy thing because they're a very peculiar kind of instrument. They're the piano like magnified by 100 because they're very striking, but they have almost instant decay. But they're bells, so they they do continue to ring. Like they have a very long, the graph of it's a very sharp peak at the beginning. It falls off fairly quickly, but it goes on for some good time. Like it can ring and resonate. Yeah. And so there's so many overtones in a handbell choir, and composing for that is difficult because if you're not careful, you're reinforcing some of the more negative overtones and you get this sort of harsh sound to them. But I'm just imagining, when you ring a single bell, there's a clarity to it. There's a beauty to it. It's the brass, resonating as it does. It's a very beautiful tone that metal contains. So I like the idea about this sort of rung bell with this sharp hit and then this natural decay that kind of resounds. It reverberates. It goes on.
I like that image because that sharp beginning, it can be a gasp of pleasure. It can be a shock of horror. It can be the surprise of a revelation. It can be understanding a moment for the first time. There's so many ways in which your I feel can be triggered. And whether it's the five senses or your sixth sense or your baseline instinct, whatever it is, when it turns on, the moment when it starts ringing.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is, we talk about being triggered and we liken it to a bell. And there is something, about a trigger that isn't necessarily happening within PTSD. Like something can trigger you in not a bad way, like trigger a memory or trigger a feeling or both. Mm-hmm. The smell of something can trigger, bring you back to a moment in time in your life.
Yeah, you can smell something and suddenly be somewhere else in a memory. You can hear a song you like and suddenly be overwhelmed with joy, or whatever. These moments of sharp impact, they all come from this visceral place. Mm-hmm. And in connection to the other cards, I'm thinking that rather than it being about sensuality or sensorial input or anything like that, I feel like this is the inner voice telling you what you already know. You need to be connected to other people. You need to learn from other people. You need to be aware of risk and danger and reward. None of it happens in isolation. And when something stands out in a moment as being important, you should take a moment to try to understand why.
I'm hearing that. I'm hearing maybe a slightly different coloration of it, because I do hear the other people thing. And I do agree that community and collaboration are important to dealing with these things. But I also hear a little bit of an overtone of caution. Because we were,
or who you reach out to.
Yeah, we were talking about families and trauma and things like that, and I think you have to be considerate of yourself. Like I go back to the "Am I the asshole?" posts. A lot of times, no, you're not the asshole, but you're in a situation where others are telling you that you are, and I think you need to be careful about the reverberations around you. You brought up the friend who was trying to talk about things to straight people that they don't understand, and he needed to seek out gay people, queer people to resonate with. And I think that is what I'm feeling here, is that you're putting out vibrations. Surround yourself not with people that are dampening those or are competing with those,
or discordant.
Find the people that your natural frequencies resonate with their natural tendencies. The way that and this is what makes handbells so powerful of an instrument, is that you ring bells next to each other, and when they are sympathetic, they will cause other bells to ring. You can ring a fundamental tone, and if you're just even holding up the other overtones in the series, that fundamental tone will start to activate the sympathetic vibrations inside each of the overtone bells. And so they will play, they will sound because of that vibration, moving through them, which they are sympathetic to. And that's it. That's
literally look for the good vibes.
Literally, yes.
Literally look for the good vibes.
Who resonates with your frequencies? Like who out there has natural vibrations that are similar to yours, and that your energy resounds off of, so that you build back and forth. You are built up, and what they give out builds you up, and that. So I'm kind of hearing that overtone of selection in this.
And to listen to your gut about who you connect with. Yeah, absolutely. Picking up what you're putting down. I love this handbell metaphor that goes along with this. It's perfect. It's perfect that when you ring out the other people who are on your you're using the word sympathetic frequency, they'll just start chiming too, just because it's what they do. And if you're an A and they're a C and he's an E, well, baby, we can do this.
It's glorious. And again, like I said, it makes composing for it difficult, because you have to be aware of that in a way.
Off the entire orchestra.
Yeah, like the piano doesn't. It has it, but it doesn't have it quite the same way, because the piano strings are a little bit more dull. Like they do resonate, but they don't. Like they're the brass it's different. It's just different.
I've not experienced what you're talking about, but I can imagine it. And I can also imagine that if you don't create melodies and rhythms in a certain way, you'll just end up with mud.
You do.
If the bells keep ringing, then while they're ringing, then other sympathetic notes need to be hit while they're still resounding. It's like, wow, that's a lot to keep in mind.
And they, in large choirs, they tend to double the high notes, and you have to kind of be careful, because the high notes are very brassy, like literally very brassy.
But then they fall off the fastest, I would imagine.
They do. Yeah. The less surface of bell, the less, the less you'll reverberate.
Sure.
And so, yeah, learning when to use those and how to use those. And, there's this gorgeous song, Elegy. And
for handbells.
Yeah, it was written about a man's gay friend who died of AIDS. And it just captures all the emotions of like hearing about it and dealing with the initial, emotional impact. And the whole song is just raw emotion translated to music. I've never heard anything like it. And there's this one point where death comes and the choir just rings all the bells, and it's just deafening. And then we all stop, and then all of that energy reverberates through the hall and back through the bells, and we just let it settle until there's almost silence, and then the melody rings through again.
That sounds like a beautiful experience.
Oh my gosh, playing it was an honor.
I bet. That sounds marvelous.
I'll have to find a link to it. There's some choirs that have done it. Of course, I'm biased. I feel our choir did the best with it, because we really.
Was it on YouTube? Y'all didn't put your stuff on YouTube.
We were too early.
Oh,
we were too early. The later versions of the choir got to be on YouTube, but ours was too old. Somewhere in the archive there might be a VHS of us doing it.
That's not the same.
No.
And I get it, because my dances from college, they're all on VHS, and they probably don't even exist anymore. I'm not sure that they would play if you had a player.
It's sad. I really wish we would have ended up on YouTube, because this in particular is one of those moments where I would really like to have that. I think we made a CD of it. I don't know that it's anywhere to find, though. I could probably reach out to friends and they might have a copy of it. But no, it's just, I feel like we did the best, because we leaned into the emotion of it. We leaned into, and our director was a little bit more free with tempo and things, so that it didn't sort of have to settle into that 4/4. Like we let ourselves kind of be free with the timing of it, and it I don't know. It's one of those times, like this group, we all felt like together. We all, like, we were friends. We had relationships with each other. We understood each other. We knew how each of us played well and best. And there was just a lot of talent. Like, 'cause you imagine a choir, you have people that are weaker than others. There wasn't a weak point in this choir. There wasn't a single weak player. Everybody was very
on their A game.
Yeah, very well versed in their bells. And we invented things. We did things that no one else did. Like, it's just little things, like we could use our music folders as part of the instrument, because we would ring down low, and it would block some of the sound.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like
then we can
a mute.
Yeah, and then we can raise up above it.
Oh, so and it
so just
the
shoots
volume
out.
Then the volume kind of like, I can imagine how that would sound. That's cool.
Yeah, and you can ring close to your body, and your body dampens some of the sound. You can ring far away from your body, and it, and we just instinctively kind of knew how to, control our instrument, and it was beautiful.
It's interesting because we're talking about an orchestra, and we've got the heart on at least 2 cards now, and that's about connection and groups and community. And it's interesting that you're telling the stories about playing with metal in a group of people. And I'm certainly not the kind of person who is terribly, what's the word? Extroverted. So I'm certainly not the first person to go out and go look for a community to support me when I'm not feeling well. But I can say that when I do think to do it, it is good, because I can get some fresh perspectives. And like with your orchestra, you could not have played that song by yourself.
No,
it's not possible. You need like 100 hands for something like that. And it is literally not possible to make some experiences without other people. And that was a very healing piece of music too. Or at least emotive, hopefully healing. But that again required a composer, required a conductor, required collaborators. So I'm still feeling this really powerful undertone, as it were, resonating throughout the cards, that truth and community and collaboration can magnify. When you choose the right people, you can really magnify healing and joy and pleasure and joy. If I didn't say it, happiness.
Mm-hmm. And that was the flip of the 9 of swords, the nine of storms, is that there is joy, and that's sometimes lost in all of it, but it is there, right? It is flashes, it is moments, it is there, and it can come and it can go. And I think you called it an orchestra, we called it a choir, but the point is, going to choirs, right? Choirs have such a unique ability that only a few instruments, like the trombone, only a few instruments can bring this in, because temper tuning is not accurate. Temper tuning is a way to make a piano approximately play all the sounds. They used to, with the harpsichord, tune the harpsichord to the piece that you were going to play, because the third of every major triad in temper tuning is slightly higher than it should be. If you lower the third, though, then it makes the fifths and other intervals out of tune. So that's where tempered tuning came together, as it was a way to tune the whole piano to be approximately right 98% of the time, 95% of the time. And most instruments are played with set keys. Violins, no. So strings you can control. Trombones you can control.
Slide around.
But the trumpet has valves.
Mm-hmm.
The
Flute
French horn.
keys.
The woodwinds have holes,
mm-hmm.
and they're all set in this sort of temper tuning logic. So the orchestra, when it's just strings, has that same feeling sometimes, but a choir, because it's human voices, can just absolutely merge in ways that nothing else really can, because we've got the sympathetic overtones we're making the same, we've got the same sort of instrument. Everyone's got the same sort of instrument, but we can tune it on the fly, and it's instinctual. We can tune on the fly, and you can create this locked, beautiful harmony. And there's nothing else like it. It's why we enjoy boys' choirs so much. There's a purity to their voice that doesn't exist in an adult voice, and there's the ability to lock in the harmony so that it's supportive. All the overtones align. There are no discordant overtones, and it's just gorgeous.
It's angelic.
Yeah, and that's something that the metal brings me to kind of feel a little bit, but it's also, a little bit of that water. Like I feel, the tuning, right? You can have metal that's tuned to itself and is supportive and constructive, and it can just reverberate. It can just, and we talked about the sympathetic, so I think that's important. So I do see community here. You talked about, you're not one to reach out. I'm not one to reach out. I don't have I have a very small social circle. It's my spouse, you, and Lisa. That's it. I talk to my dad, but we can't really talk about anything. He has to get off the phone so quickly. And I choose not to really involve myself with my sister. That's something I've done for years. I haven't cut her off, but I have reduce the amount of interaction to the barest minimum that I will allow.
Mm-hmm. Disengaged.
Yeah. Disengaged is a good word.
And that's, part of listening to your own bell ringing out about her in particular. Well, and I don't mean to say to our listeners that you always have to go out and find help from other people. You do need time with yourself, of course. But there's a balance to be had when you fall into a place where you can't get out because you don't have any new ideas. That's what I'm talking about, is not forcing yourself to always be isolated, but to enjoy isolation when you need it and to not be trapped by it when you need something else.
Well, I think before I move on to my next card, there's a little bit here, which is you have the ability to get vibrations in. So you can go on Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube, and even though you're not connecting with them in a physical sense, or in the sense that we might have said before there was the internet, before there was this mass communication, like we would never have thought about shouting at hilltops, right, or looking at fires and smoke signals was you were connected to that person. But you can get sympathetic vibrations. People on your frequency can talk to you through these mediums that didn't exist, 30 years ago. And it can still be beneficial to you. It can still help you resonate, and it can still activate good resonances within you. So even though you may not have a social circle, this is, people, I found this online, especially Tumblr, especially in the early days, the people were finding other freaky people that they never could have connected with in real life, and were getting those vibrations from it. So you can get those from sources that might be very one way, but they still exist. I come across them on the Reels all the time. I'm like, oh, that resonates with me. You can get it from books. You can get it from videos. You can connect with people. And this is why these media exist, really, is because you can connect with people, even if it is asynchronous and one way.
Yep.
Let's see what we've got. This one's hiding lower in the deck. Oh, there you are. Ooh, okay. We've got third chakra. This is the Ace of Flames. So this is the first iteration of the third chakra. So it's the first spark.
So we're coming off the first iteration of the second into the first iteration of the third.
The first spark. So this is about that moment of ignition. And the aces and the tarot are kind of the first introduction of the element. They're usually about beginnings, newness. They're the one, right? So the numerology of one. And there's something very interesting about that initial click, right? That initial spark. And it's usually something else causing it, right? So the third chakra doesn't arise out of nowhere. Power doesn't arise out of nowhere. Flames, in this case, the ace of flames, they are generated from something. Something has to spark them. And that's interesting.
So they're coming out of a place of pure feeling and pure emotion and pure instinct into a place of pure action.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite interesting looking at the spread so far that this is a reminder that nothing can change, nothing can improve until you actually do something. And your action is hopefully what will change the situation or change the outcome so that you can go forth in healing and happiness. But it's not something you can just ponder. It's not something you can just feel or talk about, even if it is with other people. You have to actually take an action.
And there's the idea of newness and creativity and the ability to do something different. We talked about that. You know, I said, sorry, people change. There's a chance to move in a new direction. There's a newness, a freshness to this that doesn't exist. It's not the next step, it's the first step. And sometimes that can be overwhelming, right? An overwhelming amount of possibilities. And, you know, nowhere in our lives do we ever truly have any choice unless we're a billionaire. We just don't have any choice that we can make, right? We can't wake up tomorrow and decide to fly to Paris and book a hotel,
go eat croissant looking at the Champs-Élysées or the Eiffel Tower or something.
Yeah, that possibility doesn't exist for us, most of us. So, there's never infinite possibilities, but you do have many possibilities.
And there's sometimes a sense of urgency or excitement with a spark. That's what a spark is.
Mm-hmm.
It's from nothing, there is something. And there's literal energy in that. And impetus and momentum and motivation. And, now's the time to act. You've talked, you've felt, you've connected, you've considered, and now you get to do. And what are you going to do?
Well, it's the free radical, right? The spark is the free radical. So it can come from another flame. It can come from the ignition of something that is flammable.
It can come from friction.
And we've talked a little bit about friction elements. There's definitely been a lot of friction in today's reading, but that spark can leap from that. It's that free radical, it's that part of the chain reaction that keeps it going, keeps it moving forward.
That moment of ignition will have more energy in that moment than the moments that continue after. So the initial excitement, the initial burst that you feel, don't be discouraged if you can't maintain that, because that's what the whole point of an ignition is. It is the big burst that causes something else to happen. If your car constantly ignited, it would blow up. So the point of ignition is just that, a point. But it gives you the energy and momentum that you need to take all this new experience forward into something better. Also, a lot of times when you apply heat to something or fire, whatever, that is one of the most important components of change, whether it's cooking or boiling or burning or melting or, whatever. That heat, that action is in itself what's the word I'm looking for? It is the catalyst for what comes next. But you have to do.
Yeah, you talked about reactions, and oftentimes you'll have, this element plus heat. Like this element plus this element plus energy. becomes this.
And not every reaction or process requires the same amount of energy. I'm not saying that every choice you make has to be explosive, but there is that moment of, it doesn't necessarily have to be a burst. It could be a burst. It doesn't have to be in every situation, but there's this, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the moment where change becomes possible, and it's because of your choice.
Oh, there's there's a chemistry name for this. It's potential. Oh, it's part of the cycle. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the activation energy.
Activation energy.
That's what it is.
Which is not quite the same as kinetic energy. That's just movement. Okay, all right.
Yeah, activation energy is where you raise from a low state of energy to a state of energy that can create change.
Right.
It's the initial spike that says I can go from just being two elements to being a compound.
I love this. We've gone from singing bells to cooking to activation energy. It's whatever is going on in our lives. If we have the space to take for ourselves and the time to make for ourselves, we can think about these processes, and then they're not as scary.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as scary. And that's comforting.
It is comforting. Let's finish it off.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, wow. That one, like, come back here. We're going back to the Haiku deck. And we're going to be looking at card number. I'm going to roll from right to left this time. I'm left-handed, so I always roll from left to right. I'm just in the mood to use my right hand. I never use my right hand. Well, that was a lame roll. That's why I don't use my right hand. Okay, so number 35. Well, we've got more green. We've got more wood, more heart. So this is way up in the 5th chakra. This is aqua, air, Vishuddha, I say, and how it is intersected with wood, green, heart, Anahata. So how I say is impacted by I love, the way in which we express ourselves, and how that is impacted by the connections we make. And it's a very pretty aqua gradient down into a rich green. And the haiku for that is, savage gales uproot, willows shattered limbs pining, live oaks dauntless sway. Savage gales uproot, willows shattered limbs pining, live oaks dauntless sway.
I just like the interplay with the pining and the other trees. I like that. That caught me. I like that. That's a little nod there.
We like double entendres.
I do like double entendres.
We also like triple entendres. There's a few of those in a few of the cards, but we're not going there yet. So the way in which we express ourselves and how that's influenced by the connections we maintain. I guess what that's saying is that when we speak our truths, the way in which we do that, whether it's full-throated, as it were, or muffled, or confident, or not, is going to depend on the audience in front of which we say it. So, keeping all this in mind, sometimes your truth, your change, your choice, your actions, sometimes that's going to be received well, and sometimes it's not. But if you've considered everything, and you've gotten input from other people, and it feels right in your gut, and you're taking your action, and you feel proud on that, then when you finally express it, just know it may not get, 100% approval, but doesn't mean that it's wrong.
I take this also as a caution, though, too, because a lot of times people are like, I'm speaking from my heart, and you're really just saying horrible things.
Yeah, there's that.
So
there's that.
Yeah, I mean, be authentic with yourself. Are you speaking from your heart, or are you just speaking from your, vile underpinnings? Is it truly the heart, or is it more just you want to say bad things?
Well, let me ask you this. These bad things you want to say, whoever the target of these bad things are, would you say it to them? To their face, without a hood on? Would you? Would you feel safe saying it to them without glass separating you? If not, then this am I the asshole story actually is yes.
Yes, you are the asshole.
Am I the asshole in this instance? Yes. So just think about it that way. If what you're saying would get you into bad trouble, not good trouble. If it would get you into bad trouble, then it's probably not actually coming from your heart. It's coming from something that's been tainted.
I like how you said good trouble, because sometimes what people have to say is true and troubling. It causes reverberations. And it usually because it speaks to a truth that people don't want to admit or see or acknowledge.
Mm-hmm. But I'm glad we're making a distinction here, because there are, okay, I'm speaking my personal truth. Okay. Personal truth. That's problematic for me, because something's true or it's not usually. I mean, I don't want to speak in absolute terms, but your personal truth, if you have to call it your personal truth, that implies that without the personal, it might not be the truth. So let's just take a moment of honesty here. Is your personal truth necessary?
Well, we're in an age where truth has truly become relative. Like I grew up in the church, and I constantly heard relativism. Oh yeah, truth is relative. Jesus is the truth. Truth is absolute. And there was this panic about moral relativism. And what it really was is saying that things weren't as black and white as we wanted them to be.
Right.
There are relative gradations, and truth cannot always be applied universally. It doesn't mean it's not truth. It just means, like, killing is wrong unless you're trying to save someone's life. Then killing may not be wrong. Or is it wrong? Should you let someone die? That, like, you had the power to stop it. So are you at fault? Like these are questions that are very hard to answer.
Are soldiers going in to assassinate a dictator who's killing their own people? Is that wrong? This is what's interesting about the truth. It's like, is the truth true, or is the truth inconvenient? What do we mean by truth? And if it's your personal truth without it being a broader truth, or a truth that's actually based on something that needs to even exist, then we need, we can examine that.
Well, and there's things like facts, which we often, move at, I can't think of the right words. We often interchange truth and fact.
Fact is just data, and fact isn't charged with emotion. Fact is simply the state of being of some particular concept or situation. Truth is, it may not even necessarily be intertwined with fact. It can be, but the fact that X number of blobs does zigzag, that's just a fact. What you interpret that to mean, or how you use it, that becomes truth or not truth. The fact simply is what it is.
Well, I liken it to academic research, which of course I'm starting an academic research program. I'm getting a doctorate, and the idea that you gather facts to try to approximate truth.
Approximate, yeah. Or extrapolate, maybe.
Extrapolate, yeah. Because there is a truth out there, but sometimes it's not perceptible or conceivable. There is truth. However, what we can do is gather facts, right? We can gather data, like you said. And, the fact that someone said something or didn't say something, like we, talk about that, is what's the truth? Well, there was a factual thing, and we can see it, right? We have evidence of it. It's true, right? And I think this is where it gets interesting between facts and truth. Is they're not always as interchangeable, and this is also moral philosophy, which we talk about a lot here, because how can you not right? Like all of the things that we deal with in the world right now is moral philosophy. But yeah, are there truths which you can build absolute reactions upon? No, there's just not. Like there are truths that we can acknowledge, but they have to be understood in context.
Well, and if truth is connected to right, then you've got a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's right changes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am of the opinion that good does not change, but that right does. And if truth is based on right, then that's not good.
Yeah. Well, good's hard because how do you define it? Like you going back to the dictator's doing horrible things. Killing is never good, in my opinion, but it might be necessary.
Mm-hmm. And that's an important distinction to make. Sometimes something that's necessary doesn't have to feel or be good to still remain necessary.
Like I think ending someone's possibilities, even if there isn't an afterlife, I don't think it's good to end someone's possibilities. However, it might be necessary because their possibilities are ending hundreds of thousands of possibilities.
Yeah. And in that instance, it's, kind of like volcanism, the good of the one versus the good of the many. And in some instances, there is a scale.
Well, the trolley problem is a great example. I mean, it comes up all the time.
The Charlie problem?
Trolley problem. Trolley. I can't talk.
Trolley
problem. It comes up all the time. Like, why do we quarantine? Well, we quarantine because we only want a small portion of people to die rather than a large nope, word's not working. Proportion. Thank you. Of people to die. And so when you're sick, and especially when we don't understand what it is that you're sick with, we quarantine you so that you can't infect other people. So we allow you to die in order to protect the lives of others.
Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily truth or good, but it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you're the one being quarantined, maybe you don't want to hear that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Who said anything was fair?
Well, nobody. And that's the hardest part about all of this is that people, I think really do at our core believe that things should be fair. There's something intrinsic, like when you talk about moral philosophy, I think the idea of fairness is intrinsic to every human in some way. Like kids,
if something bad happens, so you say that's not fair.
kids know it. Like if someone gets more cookies than someone else, they just know that morally that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting because it's so deeply ingrained. Like it's almost genetic. It seems to maybe even go back to like pre-cognitive. Although I think apes think. I do think. So
is it an instinct you think that helps prevent conflict?
Maybe. Or
reduce conflict. It won't prevent conflict, but maybe reduce conflict.
I think it promotes sharing. I think sharing is an essential group.
Oh, yeah. And that helps with surviving.
Yeah. So I think that's why apes survive is because they know how to share and they know how to care for the sick and help the elderly. I'm not going to eat these
3 bananas and I only want one.
Yes.
I'm going to eat my one, but y'all don't have any. So let me give you one and you one. And now we all have one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there is something likely genetic or epigenetic about it. It's interesting. You can start there for moral philosophy, maybe. What's
Bananas
fair?
And apes. Let's start there.
Yeah. What's fair? Is it fair to let a dictator continue to kill their people? No, probably not. Probably not fair.
No, probably not.
We have a members only Patreon. It is patreon.com/DeanSageMedia. You can hear longer episodes where we talk about how the reading affected us personally. And you keep up with things like what we're writing and what we're working on. We have a YouTube. It's Show Your Deck on YouTube. Our books and our decks are available at showyourdeck.com. You can get our cards through our distributor. You can get Jack's book through Jack, and you can get my book through Amazon Kindle Unlimited for free, or in hardback or paperback on Amazon. Jack, where can we find you?
I'm at 49 Haiku, the number 4, the number 9, HAIKU. So on the intrawebs, that would be 49haiku.com. And on Instagram, it is at 49 Haiku.
I am Dean Sage Media. Find me if you dare. We do have a show Instagram. It's at Your Deck. And we'll say goodbye.